Hi, I'm Matt, and we're looking at some British mysteries from the Proof Is Out There. You know I like a good segment on the Proof Is Out There, so let's have a look.
The year is 1964. It's a beautiful spring day in Cumbria, England. Fireman Jim Templeton has the day off and takes his family to a local park near an inlet called the Solway Firth. 5-year-old Elizabeth gathers a bouquet of wildflowers.
I know this one straight away. Solway Firth Spaceman.
An amateur photographer snaps a few photos of the adorable tot on his new Kodak camera. But one shows something no one can explain. Someone dressed in what appears to be a spacesuit can be seen just behind the young girl's head. Take a closer look at that white outfit in what looks like a helmet with a face shield. Sure, it looks like this guy could be planting a flag on the moon. But Jim swears there was no one else behind his dog.
No, because nobody actually planted a flag on the moon. They was filming it at Area 51, weren't they? I'm joking.
When he took the photo, and certainly no astronauts from this planet or any other. The image spreads quickly to newspapers around the world, as does speculation on what this mysterious figure could be. Importantly, the photo is from the early years of the space age, with both the Soviets and the American programs making regular headlines. So the spaceman theory quickly gained traction.
Yeah, because I know that during training, NASA used to go to Solway Firth in England and just basically walked along the hills, you know, nice greenery, beautiful, and then you got a spaceman just walking through.
Flip side,
obviously not.
Nuclear arms race fuels wild speculation that the figure was wearing a radiation hazmat suit. Coincidentally, there was a Royal Air Force base used to develop nuclear missiles near the Solway Firth. Some speculated this figure could have actually been a Soviet spy.
Well, he's doing a shit job of it, isn't he?
Intrigue involving nuclear weapons sounds like a stretch, but remember, Cold War hysteria was still riding high just after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So what's really in this photograph? A visitor from space, a Soviet nuclear spy, or...
I like Soviet nuclear spy, and then he just happens to be in the fit picture. What does he do next? Go, shit, and then just starts legging it in his spacesuit.
Is it just a decades-old hoax? Let's see what develops when we consult our experts.
Well done, sir.
First, we determined if the appearance of the figure was the result of some camera development trickery.
To do some trick photography in the 60s, some would do a double exposure where you're taking two images onto the same slide of negative. Now, that's not possible to create a scene like this, however, because you would see some kind of ghosting artifacts of this young girl. Especially since her wind is blowing in her hair, it'd be impossible to duplicate that same moment twice for both exposures.
So it seems as though there really was someone or something in the background.
I wonder if they're actually going to mention the fact that Kodak put out a reward. I think it was, I can't remember if it was like £1 million or something like that. But they put out a reward that says if anyone can prove that that photos was faked, they get an award. And I don't think it was ever proved.
If this was a person with a helmet on, then this arm is actually kind of pointing the wrong way.
I always thought that. It looks like the body's backwards and the helmet's pointing the other way.
It's not an arm that's kind of coming out and forwards. It really looks like this is viewed from behind. Now, if I was to obscure the head of the person, it looks way more natural as something being viewed from behind.
And perhaps what everyone thinks is a helmet is, in fact, something else.
That would mean that this dark area here isn't actually a faceplate, it's just the hair of the person. So this is a hat, this is the hair. So I think what we're seeing here is a figure, and they're facing away from the camera.
I'm sorry, but the figure that stood behind the girl looks awfully muscly. With that mother. I'm not explaining myself, clearly. But the figure in the spaceman, I'm going to call him the spaceman. I know he's probably not a spaceman, but the spaceman looks awfully like beefy and muscly from the back compared to what the mother looks like there.
In this region It's almost white in this photograph.
The theory is that the blue dress and her hat looks white here due to overexposure. But if it was the girl's mother, why didn't the family notice at the time?
When the pictures get developed, they look at them days or weeks later, they just simply don't remember that that person happened to be standing in that.
I'm sorry, Mick. I'm sorry. That doesn't tie for me at all.
Position. No one has a perfect recording of exactly where everybody was stood on a particular moment, like 3 days ago or a week ago.
I know Mick always looks for the, like Mick, like I know him. He always looks for the most obvious explanation, but I mean that one, that just does not stand up for me. How's about you? Does that stand up? Does that mother on the ground play with flowers or whatever look like the beef behind that little girl? I don't think so. The verdict better not go, yeah, we think it's the mother.
Based on Mick West's analysis of the clothing, we're going to agree and say it's a woman in a hat.
Does that look like a woman in a hat? I'm not saying it's a spaceman or a fucking Soviet spy.
It's summer 1991 in Barnaby Place, Bradford, UK. 15-year-old Adam Mawson has been using a camcorder to record his house when no one's home, in an effort to document
I think I've seen this one.
recent happenings. And on one of the tapes, Adam finds something frightening. Nothing seems amiss until a shadowy figure slowly begins to emerge from the chair. Look closely. It eventually rises and moves about the room, passing behind the door frame before returning and seemingly disappearing through the wall. Moments later, a second...
Does it disappear through the wall? Because if you look to the left, it looks like it goes along the wall. I'm pretty sure I've reacted to this in another video.
second figure appears from the right and follows closely behind the other into the wall.
I was scared to death because I thought, what the hell is that? And that's when I showed my parents it.
I have seen it in another video.
I've seen that before. Seen it with
I'll shut up though and let you watch it.
And to journalist Alexis Brooks, it sounds like a classic haunted house tale.
Barnaby Place ranks among one of the most haunted places that I have ever seen. I mean, you're talking about disembodied voices, doors opening, closing on their own, and even what I would call a shadow person phenomenon.
Shadow people are described as dark silhouettes with human shapes and profiles. These shadowy creatures are sometimes interpreted as the presence of a spirit or other entity.
Shadow bastards, as Ben would call them.
Others believe these figures to be negative beings that can be repelled by various means, including invoking the name of Jesus.
Or telling them to piss off, basically.
I have seen and heard so many accounts of what we call the shadow person phenomenon. Many reports of shadow people include harassing an individual in their bedroom. So I would
I've seen a shadow person.
dare say that in addition to the more conventional haunting, we have what I would call a shadow person phenomenon going on in that home.
A figure often associated with shadow people is the Hat Man, a famous urban legend who wears a dark coat, a hat, and is unusually tall.
I'm a hat man, skibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dooch. Dibba-dibba-dooch. Show me edge though.
Sometimes the
A 90s banger.
figure is thought to be the devil himself. Adam's father still lives in the house on Barnaby Place and says the activity has died down since he found religion. But that only seems to confirm
And since he can't be arsed keeping up with the pretense anymore, probably.
that perhaps something spiritual was going on. Our experts take a closer look. First, we head to forensic video analyst Michael Primo for an authenticity check of this digitized copy.
We're not able to identify it as an actual ghost through forensic testing, but it could be the product of when the video was processed between the time that it was produced on tape to this digital version as some sort of artifact that is concealed as the object travels by, but is it CGI? Less likely.
So this footage probably wasn't manipulated intentionally, but how about accidentally?
These shadowy figures don't appear to be something that was introduced into the recording based on the artifacts that are present throughout its movement. And because we see these shadowy figures over several seconds in multiple instances, it's more likely something that actually happened in the video images.
So this
Yeah, I had my theory. And I'm not saying it's right, so I might as well just say my theory now. At the time, I said, there's behind the camera, there'll be a light source, right? And there'll be someone walking around, and they would have noticed that. They might have even like walked past, looked and saw their own sort of shadow in that room, and gone, "Oh, fucking hell, that scared the shit out of me. I thought somebody was in there." And then gone, "Oh, we can make a video out of that by all we've got to do is set the camera up, and then I'll walk back and forth, and it'll look like a shadow in the other room." I reckon that's what they did. That was my theory.
This recording itself may not have been manipulated, but we are not ready to declare this a ghost. We turn to physicist Dr. Matthew Shadagis, who suspects something shady.
I'm surprised you're not declaring it a ghost, because if you could declare some sort of 6 foot muscle bound beefhead wearing a bright white outfit as a woman wearing a blue dress and a hair wearing a hat.
What we're seeing here is this dark figure, a shadow, seeming to pass into the left wall and disappear, which would favor the ghost explanation. However, if you look very carefully over these few frames, there is some pixel darkening on the left that would seem to indicate that the shadow goes over the wall as we'd expect for a normal shadow being cast by someone off camera.
Primo disagrees and doesn't see any evidence that the shadow was created by someone off camera.
If the shadow was produced by the operator that's standing behind the camera, we would expect to see more of that cast off on the regions surrounding the doorway. But it's not produced over here on the right side of the image. These darker regions, being some sort of shadow is not really possible with the way that we don't see that information on.
So, it seems
It's a genuine ghost.
current science still can't attest to the existence of ghosts. But as of now, we can't explain this video any other way. Our verdict? This video is a bona fide case of unexplained phenomena, over 30 years running. 2020, Staffordshire, England. Historical researcher Andrew Baker is visiting Shugborough Hall, a centuries-old country house with numerous neoclassical monuments. But he's here to see just one. Framed by a pair of columns sits an enigma carved in stone, the Shepherd's Monument.
The monument stands by the river, surrounded by trees and quite dark shrubs, so it's eerie and mysterious.
Footage of the marble relief shows 4 people gathered around a tomb that reads Et
Not one of them have got a proper nose, have they?
in Arcadia Ego. Below the carved scene is a stone plaque bearing only the cryptic letters OUOSVAVV, flanked by a D and an M. Andrew says its meaning is one of the most enduring puzzles in England.
The idea that there was something in England that had a coded message on it might be to do with secret societies, treasure, who knows what. It's as if it's been planted there for us to read today.
That'll be some sort of quote or a book or something. And rather than putting the entire quote on, they'll just put OU. It'll be Latin. Look for any Latin phrases that start with an OU, blah, 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 VV.
Historians believe the Shepherd's Monument was commissioned by the estate's owner, Thomas Anson, and that it was built sometime around the 1750s. Beyond
Why they used to wear those wigs back in the day, I don't know.
that, the details get murky.
The theory goes that Thomas Anson's brother, Royal Navy Admiral George Anson, circumnavigated the globe collecting treasure that was hidden away somewhere, and that the Shugborough Hall inscription leads to the location of that lost treasure. Another theory goes that the Anson family were members of an organization known as the Priory of Sion, descendants of the Knights Templar who were rumored to originally be charged with protecting the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. Junior! Indiana. Don't do it, Indiana. Obviously, I'm quoting Sean Connery from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Well, everyone thinking I've lost it.
One codebreaker has suggested the Shugborough inscription stands for Jesus as deity defy, which has been linked to these controversial beliefs. Many of these theories laid the groundwork for Dan Brown's wildly popular Da Vinci Code franchise.
It was a great film. Great film.
Professional scholars have dismissed many of those claims as pseudo-history, but the idea of a secret society protecting a holy bloodline retains a grip on popular culture. So it's time to see if our experts can chisel out the truth.
We're going to our photo expert. I'm joking.
Catholic miracle researcher Michael O'Neill says the main problem with that theory is this supposed secret society didn't actually exist.
In the 1950s, a Frenchman named Pierre Plantard started this Priory of Sion, and he attempted to draw a connection between that secret society and the Knights Templar. Unfortunately, there was no such connection. And then in 1993, we see a raid of the apartment of Plantard, where they find all this documentation and letters between Plantard and his friends talking about their intentions to perpetrate this great hoax. So the proof is in the pudding.
So if the Priory of...
I mean, sometimes something just means something to someone. Like, so whoever had that commissioned and carved, right, they wouldn't know what it meant, and they probably didn't need to create a mystery. It's just that we know what that meant, and it meant something to them. Sometimes that's all there is.
Sion and its connection to the Holy...
Right, let me have a look at something, right? Because, not that I'm a researcher or any of that old gumph, but... Oh... It's hard typing with the microphone. .u .o .s .b .a .b .v. Am I missing something? I'm missing an O. Okay. Is this a... Is there a Latin or other known phrase that could these letters? Okay, let's see what this comes back with. Apologies, I'm not got a source set up to move it across camera. Although, have you noticed, I don't know if anyone out there has ever used ChatGPT. If you use ChatGPT 5 now, it seems like it takes forever to think. I think it's better. It comes back with more interesting answers, but it does seem to take forever. Oro ut omne sequentur viem ad veram vitam. I pray that all may follow the way to true life. Optimus uxoris optime sororis vidus amantis sumis vovit. Roughly, a most loving widower dedicates this to the best of wives, best of sisters, to her virtues. Orator ut omnia sunt veritas ait veritas veritatum. I'm going to look for portals opening up here. The preacher says it's all is vanity, vanity of vanities, echoing... I don't know what that one means. The DM below commonly stands for Dis Manibus, to the shared spirits of the dead, on Roman-style memorial supporting a funeral memorial reading. That explains the D and the M at the bottom. Bottom line, there's no consensus solution, but if you're looking for a Latin phrase that fits the letters, the first line above is the most often cited modern proposal, which is, I pray that all may follow the way to true life. There you go. I think mystery solved. Don't think it should be anything more than that.
Braille is completely made up.
And anyone who speaks Latin, which is rare that anyone will be watching this video, never mind speaking Latin. Yeah, apologies. I've probably butchered the pronunciations of those words.
What does this inscription mean? Barnhart thinks he's found a clue.
The inscription itself is clearly the initials, the first letters of a longer statement. This D and this M are typically on Roman tombs, and it means dis manibus, which means dedicated to the venerated dead. So this may be some sort of monument dedicated to someone who's passed away.
For us, many unanswered
Get me on there. I'll be one of your expert witnesses.
this inscription remain. Our verdict is that it's a memorial dedication to someone, though we're still not really sure who. We may have to accept that the message was meant to be kept private and may stay that way forever. October 2017. It's a seemingly typical day in Luton, England. A nearby security camera is recording as a determined man approaches a small blue car parked on the street. He reaches under the front bumper and after a few seconds proceeds to not only lift the vehicle up, but actually push it backwards. Look again. The car is parked, but he's able to push it out of the way in his bare feet. The man performing this incredible feat of strength is Hakan Akar, aka the Incredible Tulk.
I couldn't go anywhere because someone blocked my driveway. So my thought process was, I'm going to go to the car, I'm going to see how heavy it is. Decided to lift it. I started just pushing and pushing and pushing until the car was actually veering off into the road.
Hakan isn't the only modern-day Hercules caught on camera treating a car like a...
I think if you park, I'm not saying the guy in the blue car was an arsehole for parking, because sometimes you park behind the car and you think, oh, there's no car in front of that car, so they can just drive forward and get out. But then someone parks in front of that car and then all of a sudden they're blocked. I just say, just leave enough space behind. The fact that the guy was parked so close behind, yeah. Another thing I was thinking of, isn't that going to snap his brake cable by forcing the car to move backwards like that?
Children's toy. This video from Russia in 2016 shows a man overpowering this vehicle's acceleration.
No, he's not. He's lifting the car. He's lifting the car because it's a front-wheel drive, right? If he's lifting the car, it's not going to go anywhere because the wheels are spinning.
So how are these guys doing this?
By lifting the car. If he dropped that car, I guarantee you, he's going to end up over the bonnet.
Be a genetic mutation behind super strength. There's a protein
Yeah, it's called gym and steroids.
called myostatin, which typically inhibits the growth of muscles. But if you have this condition that limits myostatin, your muscles will actually grow bigger.
Artificial substances can also be involved, pushing the limits of human strength. Steroids are the modern method, of course, but the practice goes back ages.
We know that
Apologies for anyone who's got a phobia of needles.
warriors in South America from Aztec and Mayan cultures would often ingest plants that contained what we would sort of call narcotics today for the purpose of getting ready for combat.
Mescaline, which naturally occurs in cacti such as peyote, were common sources of such drugs.
It reduces fear, but it also opens up blood vessels. It opens up how much oxygen the body can take in.
Hakan assures us that's not what's giving him his strength.
I've never took anything in my life. I've always been naturally quite strong. And then once I started actually going to the gym and training, I realized that my strength levels were quite high.
So Hakan's superior strength really is the result of nature and regular trips to the gym. But is his ability to move an entire car as impressive as it looks to the rest of us? Or is there something else at work here? Let's have our experts do the heavy lifting.
What do you need experts for? Yeah, the guy lifted the car. You can see he lifted the car. There's endurance people like flipping cars as part of competitions. There's nothing supernatural about it, is there?
Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi says Hakan's physical strength is part of the equation, but he is also getting a big assist from an age-old scientific principle.
We know
God lift.
On average, around 3,000 pounds. But he's using one of the 6 simple machines, and that is the lever. The front tires are where the fulcrum is located, and he's basically just lifting it off the ground a little bit, one end of it, and that's very different than just picking up a car and lifting it above your head.
Hakan has essentially turned the car into one big resistance arm that
I don't think he needed to push that car further back either. I think maybe about 4 or 5 feet, and he could have easily just got out
distributes its own weight toward the back wheels, similar to how you can move a bunch of heavy rocks in a wheelbarrow. Professor Michio Kaku also says it's not the muscles you may think that are at work here.
We're not talking about upper body muscular strength.
All in the thighs.
We're talking about his feet helping to push the car, and the car in turn is designed to minimize friction in the horizontal direction.
That explains why those bare feet seem to help as well.
My Crocs and
Off go the flip-flops.
up getting flung off at the same time. I thought I'd get a bit more traction with my feet.
Hakan built up a greater coefficient of friction with the road, allowing for even more horizontal force. And as for the guy in Russia battling the accelerating car,
Look at the wheels. He's lifted the car off the ground, so that most of the energy of the gasoline is being used to simply spin wheels.
because this is a front-wheel drive vehicle, the back tires on the ground aren't powered by the accelerator.
He appears to be able to take a car's forward motion and stop it, when actually that energy is being wasted.
Our verdict? A blend of strength and proportional mass. There's no doubt that Hakan has above-average strength.
Well, that took an investigation.
But a variety of outside conditions are making the incredible Tulk's astounding feat slightly easier than it looks. It's February 2022 in the village of Lynham in Wiltshire, England. Drivers trying to turn onto Route B4069 are greeted with a sign posted by police that says, "Road closed." Some ignore the sign, which they soon regret. One video taken of the scene focuses on a huge crack in the pavement, with the camera tilting up to reveal dramatic ripples.
What? What we're supposed to be looking at here? I mean, that's just a typical road in England, to be honest. It's not like any of our council tax gets put into fixing the roads in England. No, they decide to spend millions on putting bike lanes in for, you know, people that were never going to use it.
The road. The camera then slowly pans to a spot where the asphalt has bent up to create a huge bump. The next shot shows parts of the pavement jutting up at sharp angles like a skateboarding ramp, which is how some kids use it. Journalist Eric Grundhauser says many assume this must be the result of some seismic disaster.
No, you can see construction equipment in the background.
Undulate, as though it was destroyed by the passing of something large and destructive, like earthquake activity.
But there's something missing from the earthquake theory: the quaking.
At the time, nobody reported feeling any sort of disturbance.
Or perhaps this road was a casualty of a secretive tunneling creature. Human beings.
In nearby
Oh God, he said human beings then.
Corsham, there is an underground bunker complex that has some 10 miles of roads connecting various hospitals and other services that were all built in 1955 by the military for leaders, politicians, generals, and the like. But when that use never materialized, the bunker city essentially was abandoned.
The project to build that
I could think of a use for them, to be honest.
underground headquarters
Might save on a few quid in the old hotel department.
was codenamed Subterfuge. So you'll excuse us if we speculate that there may be other hidden secrets beneath the surface. Let's turn to our experts to see what they can dig up. First, meteorologist Juan Hernandez examines if this could be the result of an earthquake.
England.
I guarantee you what's going to end up is you're going to go, oh, look at the construction equipment over there. Yeah, it was dug up because they're relaying the road or something.
Doesn't really lie on the edge of any plate tectonic. Usually, earthquakes happen on the edges of plate tectonics because of all that stored energy. There was a recorded earthquake in February of 2022. It was a 2.8 magnitude about 100 miles away in West Bromwich. Now, a 2.8 magnitude earthquake is not going to cause this much damage. We're probably looking at a 4, 5, or beyond for it to start causing damage to roads.
So if this wasn't caused by shaking earth, could this be the work of giant worms? NASA geologist Dr. Bob Anderson investigates.
One of the ideas about the destruction of this road is that it was created by a worm called Microcadus rabi. These worms average about 6 feet in length, but the longest has been identified as 21 feet long. But they only average less than an inch in diameter. So even if that worm was digging a trough under this road, it could not cause this kind of destruction that we see in the video.
If there is no worm large enough to produce this degree of damage, then could the...
I mean, where are they? Fucking June. Are you going to see Paul Atreides, like, riding around in England on a massive worm? Because that's how big it'd have to be, right?
theory about secret tunnels like the military's Burlington bunker in Corsham holds some weight.
It's not a bunker. It's a siege.
Here in this region, this mining and quarry was turned over to the government in England and made into a military base. But I think...
Yeah, for the Fremen.
I think I can rule that one out because the length of it shows that it's almost a sinusoidal wave. It's a motion type of wave on the rock. And so you can see that if it was a roof collapse, you'd have a hole, a depression.
Not only that, but maps show that the location of the Burlington bunker doesn't overlap with where we see this ripped up road in Lynham. So, could this be a different type of natural disaster?
The main cause, in my opinion, is illustrated right here on this picture where you see the trees. A tree
Dynamo Gaib
will always grow towards the sun. And if you go along areas where the land has been disturbed and you start seeing trees that are growing at an angle, that means that what you're having is a downhill movement of material like a landslide. The hillside is moving very, very slowly, and over time till it gets to a point where it breaks. And that downhill movement is called mass wasting.
Hernandez says the weather data shows this mass wasting, the movement of rock and soil by the force of gravity, is the most likely cause.
The UK is usually plagued with bad weather. It is known for cloudy conditions. It's known for rainfall.
Bad weather to a degree. I'd say bad weather is in like it's miserable most often than not. Summer has been a complete washout. We get rain, grey skies, windy, but we don't get extreme weather. We don't get like extreme 6-foot snow, fall. We don't get tornadoes, hurricanes, things like that. So bad weather, yeah, not extreme weather.
When you couple significant amount of rain, strong winds, and moist soils, you often have landslides that usually look like this, especially given the terrain that is very steep in this area.
Why is the road up the road? Even though it looks weird. But there was construction equipment further up.
Our verdict? This damage was almost certainly caused by a landslide, though we can't say for sure how it was triggered. And by the way, if you ever come across one yourself, experts say to evacuate the area immediately. You know what they don't suggest? Driving past all the turn back now signs.
There's a good point. I can't believe they put the worm theory in there. Jesus Christ. Right, some good ones in there. I don't believe the Solway Firth Spaceman is a woman in a blue dress with a hat. It just doesn't look like a woman from the back. I'm sorry. The photo was definitely not faked. Kodak offered a massive reward. It would have been come out fake, proven fake. The last one, yeah, landslide, fair enough. Let me know what you think. Genuine mysteries in there, or do you believe with the verdicts? I don't believe with the verdicts in some of these cases. Anyway, you take care, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.